Tell me.
Tell me.
That's the best place to be. And tell me.
Did somebody say tell me? Then tell me about it.
Tell Me, the most informative program on 2020 Vision Radio with host Carlisle Powell.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, we still can't agree that the parties should have proper debate. Well, any debates. What we have been doing in St. Kitts and Nevis is the old-timeish, antiquated way of politics.
Alongside Dr. Kelvin Daly.
We are saying this smoke need to be cleared. There's too many unanswered questions, and the government need to step up.
And Tulu Weeks.
He said the first 5 years, it looked as if he was doing something because Simeon Daniel left the project there and he carried on. And again, full divisions.
Come on, everybody. Listen to Tell Me every Thursday from 8 to 10.
You can be a part of this conversation by calling 869-669-7312. Or you can call if you're in the diaspora 917-460-2187 or 766-7312 or 469-7953.
It is indeed an honor to calling on this program to hear such intelligent people speak on different matters.
Tell me.
Tell me.
Tell me.
Tell me?
The most informative and interactive program on 2020 Vision Radio.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water,
Hi,
change
this
your
is
life.
Carlisle Powell, a member of the 2020 Vision family, where we all volunteer our services. We can't do this without you. So please use our Facebook or GoFundMe links and donate now. Your donation will also help us in our quest to be on the FM dial. Please make a donation now.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Tell Me. And we'll start this evening, first of all, by saying our condolences to the Bartlett family in Brownhill, Dr. Patricia Bartlett and all her family members, of course, my niece, Shanique. We want to reach out to you and just wrap you with some love on the passing of Mrs. Maisie Bartlett. And then, of course, we also want to reach out and give our condolences to the family members on the passing of Wiss. Dr. Daly, if I call him by his right name, you would probably know him. But a lot of other people wouldn't know him. And, of course, then I'll get down to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands and say happy first birthday to my niece, Surai Cillian, and hope that you live as long as your great-grandmother, Cillian Martin Powell. Good evening, everybody, and this is another edition of Tell Me. And for the first hour this evening, we'll have J.D. Keynes with us. But before we get to J.D., let's say good evening to Tulu. How are you doing?
Good evening, and good evening to our viewing and listening public. It is wonderful to be again in the studio. It seems that I was away for a very long time, and so it's awesome to be back. I give God thanks and praise for this opportunity once more. Hi, Lavanda.
And good evening, Dr. Daly. Tulu, before I get to Dr. Daly, let me tell you that I saw him at the fishing tournament, but he didn't have a line, he wasn't in a boat, he was just standing up drinking beer. Dr. Daly, how are you?
I am well and getting better every day. And let me say good evening to my brother Hugh down there in St. Croix, my nephew Nemo,
my brother in New York, Denny, and Twilla, his lovely wife, and all the family down in the Virgin Islands. And of course, you can't leave us, Delicious Nichols Brown and Loretta Clark Queely and Ivan, all those guys up in the States. I wish everybody a pleasant evening. It's very cool here on Nevis this evening, a pleasant evening. And today was just pure rain, most of the day anyway, which we are thankful for. And so I say good evening to all our listeners who have joined the conversation once again. And especially good evening to J.D. Keynes, who our special invited guest this evening, as she prepares for a big launch this Saturday, something that we're all looking forward to with great anxiety. So J.D., it's good to have you.
What we'll do, we'll take a short break. When we get back, we'll go straight to our discussions with J.D. Keynes. We prefer to call it a discussion rather than an interview. Let's hear from our sponsors early, and then we'll be back with the interview, with the discussions.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Welcome back to Tell Me. And the Nevis local elections are due in 2022. Our last elections were held in December of 2017. And so we are due again in 5 years' time. 5 years ago, well, let's call it 5 years because it's almost 5 years. We had a drill rig in Nevis. People cut the ribbon and said that geothermal was coming. And it cost us about $5 million just to have that charade. And the people of Nevis were fooled at that time. We have with us this evening J.D. Keynes, who is the person who will represent the Nevis Reformation Party in Charlestown or Nevis 1, St. Paul's. And her launch is coming up this weekend on Saturday. So she's here to tell us about that and a lot more things. Good evening, JD. We're going to give you the mic so that you can give us your opening statement and then we'll get into some discussions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Powell. Good evening to you. Good evening to Mr. Weeks. Good evening to Dr. Daly. I want to say a special good evening to everyone who's listening to the sound of my voice, everyone who would have tuned in this evening to Tell Me on 2020 Vision Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you know that your friend or your neighbor, your family member has not yet tuned in, it is that time when you give them a call. Don't send them a text because they may not get it right away. Give them a call and let them know that Tell Me is on and they need to be tuned in because we have lots of important and interesting things to discuss this evening. And like you said, it's not an interview, rather it's a discussion. I also want to say special good evening to the residents of Hamilton, Government Road, Stony Grove, Lower Stony Grove, Pump Road, Cedar Trees, Bath Road, Craddock Road, Main Street, Happy Hill Alley, Ramsbury, Low Street. Good evening to all of you. I hope that you are having a wonderful evening, and you too, I thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get into the discussion though, I want to extend condolences to the Smith and Stevens family of Craddock Road who would have recently lost a loved one. We know Pancake, we know Charmaine, we know all of them, and those who are around my age, you know, we have Sasha, we have Michelle, Tara, all of them. We just want to extend condolences to the entire family. We know that this is a difficult time for you, but just know that there are persons who are thinking about you, and we hope that you will find strength in the fond memories during this difficult time. So, yes, thank you so much for having me here on Tell Me this evening. And yes, you mentioned that the launch of myself as the St. Paul's candidate, Nevis 1 candidate, is coming up this Saturday, and it's going to be an exciting event. It starts at 6 p.m. and we're doing it at the Villa Grounds. And some persons were saying, Villa Grounds, where is that? Is that next to the Culturama Village? Next to the Culturama Complex? No, that would be the Cultural Village. So this is what we traditionally call the CSS grounds, or the high school grounds. So that is where we expect it to be on Saturday, 10th April. Come for 5:30. Do not come for 6, because 6 p.m. is when we want to start. Come for 5:30 so that we can get all the protocols out of the way, because we have to record your names, and we want to be compliant. We want to go according to what the task force has recommended, and so we want you to come early so that we can get all of that out of the way. It's different because it's a drive-in launch where you can drive onto the compound and you can look at the launch from the comfort of your vehicle. Now, persons may be saying, but what if I don't want to drive? What if I'm walking? Would I be accommodated? Of course. I mean, the Nevis Reformation Party is for all, and so we are accommodating you. You can walk in as well, but just know that you have to go through the same screenings, the temperature checks and all of that. And please, 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 I'm asking everybody to wear your mask. Wear your mask. We do not want to give the task force any reason, any opportunity to stop the launch, because it's going to be an exciting activity, and so we just want everybody to be a part. And for those of you who are not physically on the island, persons like my aunt in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Dillis, France, Nichols, Brown, I never know somebody with so many last names yet. To my aunt, I know she's as we say locally, breaking heart because she can't be here. But we should be able to stream the activity, so those in the region would be able to tune in via the World Wide Web.
Good. So let's start by asking you, what attracted you to politics, and why now?
Well, thank you for that. My teachers in primary and secondary school would probably say that this comes as no surprise to them, primarily because I was always somebody who was forthright, outspoken, somebody who stood for what was right, somebody who was not afraid to challenge the status quo, somebody who spoke up on behalf of persons who had a voice but were afraid to use that voice or didn't know how to use that voice. So they would tell you that this comes as no surprise to them. When I mentioned this to one of my brothers, he's just 19, 20 years old. When I mentioned it to him, he was like, sis, I'm not even surprised. I expected this. So there are other persons who would have expected it just because they know me and they know my personality. But I have always been around, or I've been around the Nevis Reformation Party for some time. I grew up around persons who were affiliated with the party, but I like to make my own decisions. I like to come up with, I like to look at both parties, how many parties we have at a time, and make my own assessment. And so even though I was surrounded by this lot of support for the NRP, I was able to compare and contrast. And very early, I would have recognized that the Nevis Reformation Party stood for a lot of things that goes with what I am about. And so right away, I naturally would have gravitated to the party. I worked under the Joseph Parry-led administration for some time. And then I was able to get a better appreciation for the party and the politics as well. And that's actually where I met quite a few members, senior members of the party. Now, why now? You know, I look at Nevis. I look at what is happening or not happening in Nevis. And while there are some persons like my good Dr. Daly, who's a little bit more outspoken than I am, who would use a lot of colorful adjectives to describe what is or is not happening on the island of Nevis. I feel quite similarly. However, I put it over a little bit differently. And just looking on, I realized, but Nevis can do more. We can do more in Nevis, and we deserve more. For me, it's not a matter of bashing the current administration, bashing the government to say, oh, these are all the things they did wrong, even though there are many. For me, it's about saying, listen, are we living up to our true potential? Are we getting all that we can possibly get? Do we look like, does it look like we have a plan for the future? And for me, when I look at this current administration, when I look at what is happening in Nevis, I'm disappointed. And I said, but I can't be like so many others and just sit on the sidelines and say, we need a change. We need a change. We need a change. But how are we going to get that change if we don't step forward and be part of that change that we want to see? And so that is why I decided, listen, you would never feel it's the right time. JD, if you continue to look and say, man, let me wait a few more years. Let me wait. It will never be the right time, because something else would happen and you will say, boss, maybe I should have done it before, or maybe let me go a little bit later. But I felt that the passion and the drive within me and the fact that my heart is in the right place, I felt that that was enough to motivate me to make this decision, take this step and say, hey, it's time for me to jump in the ring. It's time for me to get involved in elective politics. And it's time for me to be bold and say, listen, this is the Nevis Reformation Party. This is the party I stand with. This is the party I think can move Nevis forward. And I want to do whatever it takes alongside them, with, as long as it is legal, alongside them to take back Nevis.
Your aunt is typing in capitals.
That means she's shouting.
That means that she's shouting. Okay. Now, you are with a candidate list that so far has shown 4 out of 4, or 100% women as candidates for the Nevis Reformation Party. That is in itself historical, and more than that, it says that the Nevis Reformation Party is in full acceptance of women, and women not only as candidates, but women as leaders. Your path, though, to candidacy was not easy. You were not handpicked. You had to go through a process where there were other persons.
Yes.
How has it been since your selection and election?
Thank you for that. Well, because I know that I had a plan. I had a plan that as soon as I am announced as the representative, that I would be right at work. Right? So because I know that there was a plan in place, I didn't wait. As soon as I got the go-ahead, I was right at work. I would have reached out to persons very early to tell them, listen, I am the candidate for St. Paul's, and these are some of the things that we want to do, and I'm hoping that you can come on board and offer some assistance. And in some cases, I didn't even get to reach to some people. They reached to me first. And so that is good. The support has been really, really good. And if I had, let's say, 50% support before, this week alone, oh my goodness, I don't know where the people are coming from, but the support has been tremendous. It has been overwhelming. And so that has been going good. We've started house-to-house campaign, and we are going around talking to people, getting to hear from them what their concerns are, what their views are, because it's all well and good for me to say, these are the things that I want to do, and this is what should happen in St. Paul's. But who tell me that is what everybody wants? I would be quite pompous to assume that what I want is what the rest of the constituents want. And so in this house-to-house campaign, we are going out and we are listening. We are listening to people to hear some of their concerns. We are listening to hear their ideas, and trust me, they've come up with a lot of ideas, a lot of exciting ideas. And in some cases, people say, listen, I was fed up. I just don't feel like, I know we need a change, but I just fed up because I feel like nothing is going to change. And, you come to me, and I'm glad you came because I'm having a change of heart. And that in itself makes me feel good. Another thing, I am not telling people I am here and I want your support. What I am doing is telling them I want to earn your support. And if you know me, you will know that that is how I operate. I don't want you to just do it because I said to do it. I mean, that would be nice, but I don't want you to just do it because I said do it, because I think that is probably one of the reasons why we are in the situation that we are in, because the administration says, this is what you should do. Do this. We go ahead and we do it. I don't want you to do that. I want you to look at all of us on the NRP ticket, all 5 of us on the NRP ticket, and assess us, compare and contrast us, what we bring individually and what we bring collectively against our colleagues on the other side, what they bring individually and collectively, and let us work towards earning your support. That is all I am asking for. And you mentioned the women having women on the ticket, and that is something that I feel so proud of. I feel elated, and I'll tell you why. Not just because I want to see women empowered and I want to see women taking up leadership roles, because I do, but primarily because for me, it is not about women overpowering men. It is not about forgetting our men. All I want is to see women get a fair chance. The same way we are not surprised when we see a slate of male candidates, we shouldn't be surprised to see a slate of female candidates. That's what I want. I want it to get to a point where it's normal. So I don't want you to vote for me just because I'm a woman, even though that comes with certain, I would say, amenities, right? But I want you to vote for me because you think that I am the most suited person to represent St. Paul's at this point in time.
Okay, let me tell all of our viewers and listeners that we didn't give JD a list of questions. I made it clear we're not going to do that. We're going to have a conversation.
Yes.
So this is the first time this evening I'm going to put you on the spot, but it should be easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Tulu is in your constituency.
Yes.
Tell him in a minute why he should vote for you. Why he should give you his support. Why you want to earn his support.
Thank you.
Practice on him live.
Not a problem at all. I like a challenge. So, Mr. Weeks, I know you're from Tulu. He always drives that home. He wants me to call him Tulu, but you know, I am so respectful. But anyway, Tulu. Mr. Tulu, Tulu, you live in the village of Hamilton, right? Hamilton has lots of young men, lots of young women, lots of people generally. When you look around your village, forget about the rest of the constituency for a second. When you look around your village, your immediate surroundings, what development have you seen the current administration bring?
None.
None. And so, even though I should be able to say that alone is enough, I will go further. When you drive out of Hamilton and you venture into the other villages within the constituency, what meaningful, what significant improvement or development have you seen this administration bring in this constituency?
Coming soon.
And the fact that you have to think about it so long, that again is testament. Now for me, you have a current administration. You have a current slate of cabinet members. You have MPs, persons who sit in parliament, persons who came to the public and said, give me a chance, I am going to do better. Give me a chance, I am going to represent you well. And if you look around and you're not seeing any indication, any proof, any evidence of that better representation, to me, you should be willing to give somebody else a try. Give another party a try. But I'll go further. When you look at me, the person you've known for a very long time, what do you know about me? That I am dedicated, very hardworking, I'm also creative, and I'm resourceful. You see me? I tell people, yes, I know we want a representative in St. Paul's. Yes, I know the NRP wants a candidate in St. Paul's. But the NRP can't come to me and say, JD, I want you to run and go out there and beg the people of St. Paul's to vote for you. And then when we get in office, nobody remembers St. Paul's. You're mad? That cannot happen on my watch. I have made it very clear. If I am to go out there and ask people tell people to put their trust in me to represent them and represent our constituency well. When we get in there, we have to ensure that the people of St. Paul's are well represented. St. Paul's cannot continue to come last. St. Paul's cannot continue to get what the other constituencies don't want. And that is what is happening in the constituency of St. Paul's at this moment. And that alone, to me, is reason for somebody to try somebody else. Man, you should be able to put somebody just walking down the road and throw something in a bin. And you say, okay, that person would have done one thing more than the government has done. And right away, you should say that person should even get a chance. Because quite frankly, I am not impressed. I am not at all wowed. I just feel that the government, we can do more. We can get more, we can do more. And I feel that I am the best person to do it at this point in time. And so Tulu, I am hoping that based on that and others that we will discuss later, but since Mr. Powell would have put me on this spot, that you will be willing to consider me.
Tulu, you convinced?
Not be willing to consider. You have my total, absolute support.
Tell him bring his household with him as well.
Bring everybody. Bring all of them. Listen. And your neighbor. Everybody.
I have one question for you.
Yes, Mr. Daly.
You bring a unique perspective in the fact that you are a single mother of a young daughter. You have seen what the pandemic has done to households here in Nevis. And we have seen the government response to that pandemic, which has been very little in terms of social support. Given the fact that you are a single mother and aspiring to be a parliamentarian, what safeguards do you anticipate having to put us, what we call guardrails, to prevent families from sinking into poverty even further than they are right now, because they are sinking?
Thank you so much. And I think that we use COVID-19 or the coronavirus as an excuse for what is happening in Nevis. Don't get me wrong. It is true that the COVID-19 pandemic would have had a significant impact on our economy and the other economies around the world. But the reality is that our current administration has been inept in its ideas for years. Sure. And so, yes, the COVID-19 is almost like a safety net. So when in doubt, let's blame COVID-19. When the roads have potholes that make my phone say no SIM card, we're blaming COVID-19. When you can't get employment, we're blaming COVID-19. But the reality is that has been the situation for quite some time.
So you're saying we were not prepared?
I was coming to that. So I think it's because there's a lack of vision. There's a lack of planning. And that is the reason why we would have suffered such a hit as it relates to COVID-19. And in terms of myself and the NRP generally, what we have in place, or what we want to put in place, we believe that there is need to diversify our economy. People say that all the time, but you don't actually see it happening. But let me tell you, in St. Paul's, for example, I have been telling people two of the main things that I want to focus on are education and training and entrepreneurship. Right? And by education and training, I'm not talking about everybody going off to a college, liberal arts college, and getting a 4-year degree, even though that is nice. I would have benefited tremendously from that sort of education. But there's also skills training. Right? And we have a lot of persons who have natural abilities. They just need to perfect. They just need training. And so that is something that I have been pushing. And I'm thinking, imagine if more of our people were trained. Imagine if more of our people were trained prior to COVID-19. Can you imagine the level of ideas, the diversity that would have been taking place in our economy? Same goes for entrepreneurship. I mean, COVID-19 would have taught us generally that you cannot rely on one economy. You can't even rely on one stream of income. Right? Even if you're not employed in the tourism sector, I am pretty sure you would have felt the impact somehow. And I'm speaking generally. And so with entrepreneurship, I'm not saying that it necessarily means that you have to quit your 9 to 5 or your 6 to 3. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you have an additional stream of income to help to support your families.
But in the vein of entrepreneurship, you would recall that the present administration borrowed $5 million from the ROC Taiwan 2 years ago, ostensibly to go into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
But the caveats, the conditions at which these loans were given was so draconian.
Yes.
Persons really have not accessed in any large quantum the funds that are available. And again, it comes back to a lack of vision on their part, because if you're going to say persons over 35, males over 35 do not qualify, which it's a really ridiculous thing to say, and that you need to put up 20% and all this nonsense, you're not really encouraging entrepreneurship. You're actually funking it.
Yes.
Right? But again, it comes back to your vision as to what is important in our development. You mentioned, of course, skills training and education, generally speaking. The program that NRP had started on the Henze Daniel, where our youth went off to Trinidad. Many were troubled youth at risk, they were called. I think it's 50-something in Caroline or something, and I can't remember the exact number, but it was a tremendous amount of young men who went off, and some came back and started their own businesses, and actually hired other youth at risk. That is an issue that you must be able to understand where the country is going to continue that program.
Yes.
But one thing is missing from this government here, very much missing, is empathy.
Yes.
There seem to be the rift, devoid of empathy of any significance. You being a single mother, you know how difficult it is to raise a child on your own, even though you have a nucleus family around you. Speak to that issue of when, I think it's about 60-something% of all households and needs are led by single females. You are a single female. So you right away, you understand the difficulties that single mothers would face on a daily basis.
Yes.
Things that fellas like me would never understand. So can you speak to your feeling of empathy towards persons who are struggling in your context as a parliamentarian? What policies you're looking to formulate to protect and support families?
Okay. Before I get to that, Dr. Daly, something you said, and I want to bring it out here. One of the things I've observed over the years that we are not very good at in Nevis, or we have not been very good at in Nevis, is making the information accessible and breaking it down so that the ordinary person can understand. And so you would have pointed out that a significant sum was allocated to boost, with the hopes of boosting entrepreneurship on the island. But the reality is persons may not have gravitated towards it, because when they go and they ask a question, the information seems so grand. It seems like, I mean the text is so verbose, they just feel overwhelmed, and right away they are discouraged. My thing is, it's all well and good to go on the radio and to make posts on social media and say, we have secured this. I am happy to announce that your Nevis Island administration has secured this. I mean, but if it's not broken down so that the ordinary man can understand or woman can understand, then how are they expected to take advantage? The same thing goes for when we get up and we say, oh, we have 50 new businesses or 300 new businesses would have registered, but nobody ever mentions how many would have gone out of business. You know, these are the kind of things that we don't do. And because our people sadly have gotten into the habit of not questioning things, or when they do question, it seems like it's an attack on the government, then, you know, it's sad, because we end up in this position where people lose out on opportunities, and really the persons who are already empowered, the persons who are already making significant sums, are the ones who end up reaching in through the back door and gaining from what was really allocated for the ordinary man, for the middle class man or woman. As it relates to the single mother's perspective, you're so correct. I am unmarried, and so I am a single mother, right? I'm a single parent. I have one child, by the way. Good night, baby. Good night, Kajni. Because I know she's going to tell me about this when I pick up. Mommy, you didn't even call my name. And she's going to want me to say hello to her fish. These 4 fish in my house driving me crazy. So good night to, I guess those would be my grandchildren. And to my other child, I like to call her my other child, my adopted daughter, Kai Caldries. Good night to you as well. And all of my godchildren. I have 12 of them. Good night to all of you. So don't think that I forgot you guys. I just got so caught up in the discussion. So good night to all of you. Now, I agree with you. There seems to be a lack of empathy for persons who may be struggling, or just generally across the island. It seems as though if it does not directly affect us, we don't care. We take a hands-off approach, and we don't have the people around us who can tell us, what you're doing is not right. You need to reach out to these people, because everybody's so afraid, and that is sad. For me, even though I know at times it can be a struggle, the reality is, in some cases, I still have it better than others. Even when I am struggling, in some cases, I still have it better, because I am lucky enough to get up every morning and go to a job. Some people don't have that.
Since March.
Say that again?
Since March.
Since March. Some people don't have that. I mean, some of us are saying, oh, we have to make sure that we pay the internet bill because we don't want the internet to get cut. Some people don't even have electricity. Some people don't even have electricity. Water, basic things. They don't have anything to eat. And I know this because a lot of persons talk to me. My daughter goes to a school, and sometimes you can see. And so as a parent, I have to tell my child, yes, sometimes somebody may be begging you all the time for your snacks, but you don't know their situation.
Exactly.
You don't know the situation. Or let me give you an extra snack in case so-and-so asks for the snack, or you just volunteer, just offer to give it to so-and-so. These are the kind of things that we as a community need to start doing, because if we are waiting on our government to do it, it's not going to happen. They are out of touch.
Let me read a comment before we go to break. And this one is coming in from Ian. Just a thought. If Nivisions had listened to the former administration of NRP when they had visions of diversification of the economy, namely oil storage plant, fisheries complex, geothermal, decriminalization of marijuana, which would have provided jobs, Nivisions would have been the envy of the Caribbean. I can't agree with you more, Ian. Let's take a break. Back after this.
Hi, this is Carlisle Powell, a member of the 2020 Vision family, where we all volunteer our services. We can't do this without you. So please use our Facebook or GoFundMe links and donate now. Your donation will also help us in our quest to be on the FM dial. Please make a donation.
Do you know what
now.
you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Sweet, sweet Calypso. Thought-provoking Calypso, local Calypso, and Calypso from around the world. And you can experience the Calypso Review on Mondays from 8 to 10 p.m. with Spencer and Carlisle on 2020 Vision Radio. They won't only play Calypso, they'll analyze the lyrics and music composition. And you know, Calypso is commentary, so they'll want to hear your comments and your views. Just call WhatsApp number 869-669-7312, landline 469-7953, or the overseas number 1-917-460-2187. Calypso Review with Spencer and Carlisle every Monday from 8 to 10 p.m. on 2020 Vision Radio.
I say we jamming to the songs of the Caribbean, we grooving to calypso and steel band.
Welcome back to Tell Me, another Thursday evening, and we are having a discussion with number one in number one, J.D. Keynes.
I like that.
And the Saturday night coming up is the big launch, and it's a different launch. If you feel like you just want to drive in and sit in your vehicle, that's encouraged. But come early, because you'll have to go through the protocols.
Yes.
Let's go back to Dr. Daly. And Daly, I'm told that this evening that we're losing some of our online viewers because they have gone across to Facebook. They want to see this evening. They just don't want to listen. So the Facebook count is way up. I think it's you they want to watch.
Me?
I don't think it's me.
You got a beautiful
Hopefully it's JD.
I wouldn't even.
Okay, Daly.
You have a rich history of volunteerism.
Yes.
And it's a renowned history, a very productive history. How has volunteerism shaped you as a potential parliamentarian, and the significance of that in leadership?
Yes. I think it is Mr. Hensley Daniel who always jokes that we have people who've never even been Boy Scouts, Brownie Guides, Girl Guides, anything of that sort. But in Boys Brigade, anything of that sort, who want to come forward and offer themselves. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying, to me, you get a better appreciation for service, for helping persons, for having empathy when you would have been involved at a very early age. And for me, it started very early because I was a member of the First Nevis Rainbow, Brownie, and Girl Guide and Ranger unit. I went through, all of the ranks. That my daughter is currently a member, because I would have seen what it would have done for me, how it would have helped me, and so I wanted to get her, involved in that very, very early. So is at least one of my godchildren. I am an Anglican as well. I was christened, baptized in the Anglican Church.
My apologies.
I don't want any apologies. I'm very proud of my denomination. I'm very proud of my denomination.
I was pulling Carla's leg with that.
Yes, because he's an Anglican too, right? He's an Anglican too.
My christening was at Methodist though, but I'm Anglican.
But we would have brought you over, not a problem. And so in the Anglican Church as well, I would have volunteered. I actually just got off of a two-term stint as the member of the vestry. I was the parish youth coordinator for some time. I also served in the Anglican Young People's Association some time back, and I was once a server, an acolyte in the church as well. And so I've done a lot of volunteer work. I was a member of the Culturama committee for years, in different capacities. In 2012, I actually was the chairperson of the senior pageants committee. That's the Miss Culture Queen pageant, the Mr. Cool contest, and the swimwear, Miss Culture swimwear contest. And I would have been a pageant coach and a lot of different things. If I have to really just go into all the areas in which I've volunteered, I'll be here all night. Because
it's just the significance of it, how it builds character. Because every time you see, if everything is for a paycheck, you miss 99% of your life.
Correct.
Because the real people you meet are in those same volunteer positions, because it means that there aren't any significant funds to go around to hire people. And this is where people start relying on you, depending on you for leadership and for guidance, to building character in our young people. As a young man, I was a member of the Boys Brigade in Charleston Methodist, and the things that we did as youth still remain with me till this very day.
Definitely.
How I look at the world, how I interact with people, it still remains with me. How many years later?
Yes.
And so you've had such I mean, your resume as to volunteerism dwarfs mine by 1,000,000%. So I could imagine
Yes.
how all of that energy, how all of that vision is now taking place and been forged. And you said a while ago, why not now? What I suspect is happening, JD, with all respect, what I suspect happening, all those rivers, all those rivers of energy are now coming to a head.
The currents, yeah.
And they're now saying, this is the time. That has chosen you. You haven't chosen it. From that history of volunteerism, of being, in all these capacities, it triggers something I know, I may sound foolish, but there's a purpose for all of us. And I think your purpose have now been defined clearly by all of your works coming together now at this point in time.
Yes.
In that ultimate step of sacrifice, public service at the highest level.
Yes, you're so correct. And being involved in volunteerism helps you to appreciate people a lot more too. And again, it comes back to empathy, because you would have been involved or been around people of varying backgrounds, different circumstances, and so you would get that level of understanding and love for people, that love for service. If I were to charge for every single thing I would have done, everything that somebody has asked me to help them to do, man, I could wake up tomorrow and go right back to sleep. Wouldn't have to worry about a thing. But I mean, that's not the nature. Sometimes people even call me to ask me to help them to do things that I had never done before, and I didn't even think that I was capable of doing until I would have challenged myself. And it makes me feel good at the end of it all that you're able to assist. Anyway, I am not at all selfish when it comes to resources and even knowledge. Somebody or some persons would have assisted me greatly in terms of resources and knowledge, and I have no problem sharing. And that is something that, I pride myself on. Where I work right now at a financial institution, sometimes people come to me to ask me things that are not directly related to my job. And sometimes, when they start, I'm like, I wonder if they're going to the right place. And when you tell them, it's the other department or something, and they say, no, but it's you I want to talk to first, And I like that. I chuckle, but I like it because it shows that people have that confidence in you, and what you do means something to them.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. No. And we are just at 8:46 tonight. You're listening to Tell Me, and we're with J.D. Keynes, who is going to be launched on Saturday as the candidate for Nevis 1, Charlestown, St. Paul's, call it what you may. You said earlier that St. Paul's, your constituency which you plan to represent after the next election, is one of those neglected constituencies. So I'm going to put some specifics to you now. Charlestown Health Center has been practically the same since Dr. Daly's mom worked there. It is outside of Alexandra Hospital. It is supposed to be the #1 health center in Charlestown. They see more people than anybody else. But it's an eyesore. Your reaction?
I agree. And it's sad because, we have one of my favorite nurses works there. And when I look at the kind of service that, these people would give, and they have to do it in these conditions, it saddens me. One time I remember, when my daughter was a toddler, I took a photo of her there. And, I was at home one time later on and going through some photos, and I saw a photo of me. And I am almost certain it is the same poster. I am almost certain that it is the same poster, right? I said almost. So if it is not the same poster, it was almost identical. You understand? And I said that to say the chairs look very familiar. When I was a student at Charleston, the chairs look, maybe they keep getting the same posters and the same chairs. Could be. But the bigger point though is that the state of our health centers, and you speak specifically of the one in Charlestown, is really not that good. It's really not good. I've been lucky enough to travel a lot of places in my short life. And what I realize is that the health centers, and it's not just in the continental US, so please don't say that. It's other places as well. People government put resources into their health centers so that a lot of the services that you would traditionally go to the hospital for, you can bring those to the health centers and leave the hospital for more serious cases. And I think that is just common sense. We talk about wanting health care. We believe in health care. All these things. I mean, when I saw the members of our government being inoculated at the Charlestown Health Center, and I'm looking at the background there, so you ought to be ashamed of yourself. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. The only good thing I saw come out of it, well, I'm hoping would have come out of it, is people look around and say, boss, the health center need a little sprucing up. Let me donate this, let me donate that. I mean, these are just some of the basic things, and I have to commend the staff at the health center because they've been working in conditions that really should be upgraded in 2021. Yet, yes, government can say that they're strapped for resources. All governments can say that we're strapped for resources. But we find money for certain things. We find money for our supporters. We find money to put to projects that we can also collect on the back end. And I'm saying, regardless of your political affiliation, you cannot sit back and look at things like this and think that it's okay.
And that was the idea when we built the Brown Hill Health Center. We were taking it to a different level. But this government has absolutely dropped the ball. Let me stay in your constituency, and I'll tell you very quickly and get your reaction. So you make your notes. E.T. Willett Park, not a first-class facility at this point. It is way below the standard that any of these grounds should be at.
Correct.
And I'll tell you, the Grell Hull Stevens Netball Complex, that is run down, badly in need of repairs. I'll also list for you the Charlestown Preschool, one of the first in Nevis. No expansion, no improvements there. And then I'll just bring you down and I'll tell you the Cultural Village. Millions has been spent there. Let's take this phone call though, and then we'll come back. Good evening, caller, you're live.
Good evening, caller. Good evening, Dr. Daly. Good evening, Mr. Weeks.
Honorable, how are you?
Fine. And a special good evening to JD making your debut. You sound like you've been batting on this cricket for some time. Carl, you know about cricket. It doesn't sound like a batsman who has just made the team. I just wanted to point out that while you're having the discussion on the health center in Charleston, you would realize that the one in
Your volume has gone low, caller. Get close to the phone for us.
I am close to the phone.
Okay, good. That's better.
Is that better? Yeah, I was saying that you're talking about the Charlestown Health Center. But remember, the Gingerland Health Center is closed. And so we're using half-time.
And Cotton Grove?
The Cotton Grove Health Center is closed. And the new thinking, and this thinking has been around for a long time in healthcare, is just as JD is saying, to provide the kinds of services at the community level, which there was a community health centers, and so that you would keep people out of the hospital would be dedicated and to focus exclusively on tertiary care. And so when you are not doing that, you are allowing the services to collapse. When I was the Minister of Health, we had bought a set of equipment and put them to upgrade and created examination rooms with special lighting and so on to allow the doctors to do proper examinations of patients at the health center so that it would be easier. And of course, Carlisle, you know, we built the first health center in Nevis in 60 years at Brown Hill. And that Brown Hill, the concept came from the CDB working through health professionals across the Caribbean, where there is a room for audiovisual and education, so that you want to be able to educate people, just like with the nurses did 30, 40 years ago. But you must have a room with audiovisual equipment, and I had arranged for those to be provided, so that when you come to the hospital, you may go to check your pressure, so you can watch a video on how to control your pressure and so on and so on. And then there was the idea of pharmacies. That center has a pharmacy there. That was the idea. So you see, the Brown Hill Health Center should have been replicated if people were serious. Should have been replicated in Gingerland, in Cotton Ground, and in Charlestown. And so that seems to me for the new NRP government to be a major priority. So as you speak to the matter of healthcare, is if whoever becomes the Minister of Health, you have to do 3 new health centers.
Mm-hmm.
3 new health centers, and you have to develop the programs. And I had made arrangements with an organization in the United States too, which specifically dealt with diseases affecting black people, so that you could go and read about the sickle cell and all the different things, diabetes, hypertension, the whole works. And when you look at the health data and you look at the morbidity data and mortality data, you will see that diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and stroke are the main problems. And so the idea was to fix up the health centers and get people to use them. But what you're going in there to use them for? And you can go up to the Alexandra where they have TV and AC. You go up there and sit down to get your pressure checked or very basic services. So I just want to end by commending JD and trust that the people in Nevis, they don't vote based on lack of knowledge. So it is for us to ensure that they vote in their best interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Mr. Powell, if I can, I would like to add to what the caller would have said. Right there, just from listening to the caller, it strengthens the point that there is no shortage of ideas in the Nevis Reformation Party. There have never been a shortage of ideas in the Nevis Reformation Party. But guess what? We continue to lose 2 persons on the other side with no ideas or very little ideas. And why is that? For me, it comes down to something that I wanted to say earlier, but probably this is the perfect time for me to mention it. We have to change the culture of our politics in Nevis. I'm not going to speak about the other countries, the other islands in the Caribbean. I'm speaking specifically about Nevis for now. We have gotten to a stage where our politicians are pitting us against each other. There are people who are afraid to even post a photo because they don't want to lose their jobs, or they don't want to come to an event because they don't know who will see them. And these are the kind of things that's just nonsense to me. That's madness. People should be able to choose who they want to support. People should be able to constructively criticize who they wish to. I mean, these are some of the things. These are things that these are our rights.
Basic rights.
Basic rights. But the reality is, the government continues to pit people against each other, and I am pleading. I am asking our people. It doesn't matter whether or not you are from St. Paul's and you support me as the candidate. It doesn't matter any of that. The reality is we cannot continue to allow this government to pit us against each other, because when they make you, imagine, let me give an example. There are people who would tell me, JD, if you hear of any jobs, let me know, and because I have X number of people in my house and none of them working, etc. And I say, not a problem. I know their political affiliation, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. And so when I hear anything, I send it. The minute I see, or the minute something went out, I'm assuming maybe they didn't know my political affiliation. The minute something went out with me in a little bit too much green, I realize all of a sudden people start to pass me straight. People who are complaining that they don't have anything to eat. Nobody in their house is working, and they are on Facebook. I don't even know where they get the internet from to be on Facebook, right? Because the situation is so bad. But they would rather take you and make you an enemy because you support different political parties. In which century can that make sense? And so if tomorrow you are hungry and you come to me, you're not going to come to me and ask me, JD, please, can you give me a piece of bread and cheese? You're not going to do that because what? I am wearing a little bit more green these days. Guys, we can't do this. We can't do this. We cannot continue to operate like this. When you go, I mean, I'm always at my daughter's school. Always. Everybody, all the children, them up, they're calling me auntie and Gaddy now. I just go with the flow. I'm always there. And I know that there are people who are struggling. There are people who are struggling. And the reality is they are afraid because the government, they don't want to speak out because they're afraid. And when they get the little $500 here and there, they know that it is not going very far. But guess what? They have to satisfy with that, for want of a better term. And it is sad. We are in a very, very sad place in Nevis, and I think we can only get that change that we want if we start to change how we look at our politics. Because I would have come forward as a politician, that does not mean that I hate anybody on the opposition side. There isn't a soul on the opposition side that I hate. Not one. And to go even further, there are people on the, government side. There are people on the government side who I'm quite fond of, love dearly. But what? We don't see eye to eye politically because they are part of a side that is not progressive, and I am on the Nevis Reformation Party side that deals with peace, progress, and prosperity, right? That doesn't mean I love you any less. It just means that I disagree with your politics, and I feel that this party, the one that I am proud to be associated with, the one that I am proud to represent, is the one that I think and I want to stand by to lead my island forward.
It's 9 o'clock, but we'll go into overtime if you have
that's fine.
Some overtime first. Okay, we were looking at priorities, and so I put to you the E.T. Willett Park, the Charlestown Health Center, the netball complex. Priorities. The government has spent millions on the Culturama Village and the cultural complex, but very little money on education, sport, health. Your reaction?
Yes, I mean, listen, I've had my days, and everybody will tell you I love Culturama. I don't jam like I did before. I don't do anything like that anymore. But I love Culturama, and I love the arts. I love those things. But the reality is, how can I love that more than the education of our children? How can I love that more than the making sure that we have proper health facilities? So when I go to the Culturama complex or the cultural village, wine up and dance up. Well, I don't drink, so I won't get drunk. But do all these things, and I get sick, then I catch cold. Where am I gonna go? To the health center or to the hospital that's not up to standard? How can that make sense? Make it make sense. And so, Mr. Powell, you are spot on when you spoke about priorities. That is something that I find is an issue for this administration. There is no planning. There's no progression planning. We see that even in healthcare. I mean, we have nurses, and God bless them, because my aunt Avril, you all know her as Cherry Walters, has been a nurse for many, many years. We have those nice nurses who've been around for a long time, and they're still there. Even when they go, they bring them back. Because guess what? There's no progression. There's no progression planning. There's no succession planning. We have people who are working to get a paycheck, and we didn't say, well, let us bring them in and train them. That was the situation for years when it came to the pharmacists for the hospital. These are the kind of things that I don't understand. To me, it seems like basic common sense, but our government, it seems to be beyond the persons who we've elected to serve us. And so priorities. Imagine we would have taken, we got the funding to do a whole what's it called in Newcastle?
Police
station in Newcastle, and we're still paying rent someplace else because the station, as nice and beautiful as it looks on the outside, is not functioning.
4 months after the opening ceremony,
still nothing.
And more than that, you have to add that the police station was way over budget.
I was about to say, but it's not just the police station. Every single thing, the few things that this government has done, but every single one of them have gone over budget and over time. Over time. Not even the most basic thing they can stick to the plan. Not even the most basic thing.
Pay raises for themselves.
I don't understand.
You see, Hensley Daniel put this very well on the Cotton Ground Road, which was 10 million over budget. And he said, cost overrun, quality underrun.
Correct.
That has been the trademark of CCM all the years that they have been in power. Let me come back to St. Paul's. St. Paul's is the only constituency in Nevis without a community center.
Yes, yes.
Your reaction?
I think that they think that the people of St. Paul's are not a community.
Maybe.
That we don't represent a community. And it is sad. And people of St. Paul's, when we're doing the house to house, that is one of the things that, has come up quite a bit by everyone, or well, by most persons rather, that, there isn't a community center. Imagine, you're talking about a community center. Now, I am from, right? Well, no, let me take that back, because the people of Bath will get very jealous. They don't play when it comes to me. They want everybody to know that I'm from Bath, right? Because I spent the first 10 years of my life in Bath Road. But then I moved to Braziers, which is just between Hamilton and Government Road. And so I like to own there as well. There in my area, we have persons who are skilled in cricket. We have footballers. And you mean to tell me we don't even have the facilities that are up to standard? So what do you expect? If they're not giving us the facilities to support where we have people who are doing so well, who have done so well, you expect them to give us the facilities for community center? No, they're not going to do that, because they feel like maybe we are going to use the community center to what? Plot against them? We don't need to plot against this government. The government is plotting against itself in its inability to provide any kind of economic stability, any kind of growth, any kind of comfort for the people of Nevis, and it is sad.
It is. Let's take another break. We have to make sure that our sponsors are happy. And so let me say good evening to Mr. Piper Barry up there in the good old USA. And he is our main sponsor with Kangen Water.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Hi. This is Carlisle Powell, a member of the 2020 Vision family, where we all volunteer our services. We can't do this without you. So please use our Facebook or GoFundMe links and donate now. Your donation will also help us in our quest to be on the FM dial. Please make a donation now.
Welcome back to Tell Me, where we are in overtime with J.D. Keynes, who is going to be launched as the NRP candidate for Nevis 1 St. Paul's, and that's coming up this Saturday. And it's going to be a different kind of a launch. This one is not one where you come and you stand up. Yeah, she's saying that you can come and drive in and stay in the comfort of your vehicle and look at the launch and participate. Of course, she'd be happy if you come out and mix and mingle. But remember, we're in different times, so all COVID protocols. Wear your mask, make sure that you have that available and on, not just on your chin or on your forehead, but put it on. Wear it how you should wear it.
And we'll have some entertainment, we'll have food, we'll have drinks. It's gonna be a nice event this Saturday at the at the Villa Grounds.
Starting time?
We accept donations. We're not gonna charge you, but we accept donations. Yes. It starts at 6, but again, because for those of you who've just tuned in, because we want to ensure that we do all of the relevant follow all of the relevant protocols. We want you to start coming early, so you can start making your way there from minutes to 6. So 5:30, you can come on down where we can record the names, etc. But please, just bear in mind that we have to be COVID-19 compliant. We don't want to get into any trouble with the good people of the task force, the persons who would have facilitated us. So let us do what it is we are supposed to. And yes, Renee, thank you so much for tuning in. I know you wish you could have been here Saturday, and I also know that you're going to call me 1,000,000 times to make sure that I have everything in place. And I know that you wish you were here. I wish you were here too. Good night, Rennie.
And speaking about donations, Dr. Daly, you got a message from Birdman.
Yes, 2 days ago, actually, I got a wonderful piece of news. Birdman Liebert communicated with me that he had sent via MoneyGram a significant donation to 2020 Vision to keep us on the air, going forward. And so to Birdman and Pauletta and I think Loretta, we do thank you here at 2020 Vision for your donation. I would have communicated my acceptance of the donation this afternoon to Birdman. Matter of fact, I had to call him to the document I had to fill out. I had to call him in Washington, D.C. for him to tell me exactly how to do about it. So to those persons, the family of Birdman and friends, I do appreciate, and we at 2020 Vision appreciate this very significant donation towards our longevity and bringing the information to you on a weekly basis.
And thank you to Ivor as well for his contribution. And that's why I keep playing the ad, the GoFundMe. Listen, if we can't keep the lights on, if the dance can't play for the lights, we're going to turn off the lights, we're going to stop the dance, and we simply won't be here on a Thursday evening. So we ask you to continue with your contributions.
Before you get into that, I just want to underscore what JD kind of danced around a little bit in terms of financial assistance towards the campaign. She didn't spell it out. The event on Saturday is coming out of our pockets and the kindness of supporters and well-wishers of the party. And I think perhaps we will have enough to cover, if we do have enough to cover the event. But prosecuting a campaign is very expensive, and every dollar helps. And so if you do come to the event, or when you do come to the event on Saturday, walk at an extra couple of dollars. We're not going to charge you for the food. We're going to have some lovely goat water and other treats, drinks, all donated by friends of the party.
And ITAL for people like me.
And ITAL, of course. And so, but in exchange for that kindness, I'm asking you to reach into your pocket and just put something in a tray. And, we'll have a receptacle there for persons who want to donate a small amount of cash. Every single dollar helps.
Yes.
And so we just thank you in advance for your generosity.
We're speaking with J.D. Keynes, who will be launched on Saturday at the Villa Grounds. That is at the school grounds.
Yes.
And we're asking you to come out and be a part of that, show your support, show your love, and make sure that your presence counts.
Put on your green.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah. JD, you promised us an hour. We have gone an hour and 12 minutes so far, and we'll go longer still because I want you, just in case there is anything that we didn't capture, I want to give you the mic so that you could speak. But first of all, I'm going to ask you, are you prepared to put St. Paul's first?
Most definitely.
When you sit in the cabinet and people are asking for things, are you prepared to advance plans to make St. Paul better? I know you'll want to make Nevis better.
Yes.
But the people of St. Paul will elect you, I hope.
Yes.
And when they elect you, you have to put them first and argue their case.
Correct.
And not like what people say is happening now in that St. Paul's is told, listen, just as you nice, because what you said don't matter. Are you prepared to put St. Paul's first?
Most definitely. I don't want to be a part of anything that my heart is not in. I would have worked, I would have sacrificed to get to where I am in terms of being the representative for St. Paul's, and this is something that I am giving my all. I'm giving my all. I not that I want to make this an excuse or shed too much attention on it, but it's no secret because I'm quite proud that I am a mother of a small child, and I when I look at her and I look at the children around her age, I realize, boy, we're in for trouble. We're in for trouble. If someone doesn't come, or if a party, if a government does not come, a group of people do not come together to rescue Nevis, there is no future for these children. And I am asking the people of St. Paul's to ask themselves, are you satisfied with what you're currently getting? When you look around, do you think that St. Paul's is living up to its true potential? When you compare St. Paul's to some of the other constituencies, do you see us on the same level? When we are building roads and breaking down fences and giving people walls that cost more than some of their homes, do you see that happening in St. Paul's? Ask yourself, are you able to provide for your children in St. Paul's? Are you able to buy the books, the textbooks that are on the book list each year rather? Are you able to provide the nutritious meals that your children require? Are you able to pay the financial institutions? Are you able to provide a tertiary level education, whether in skills or at a liberal arts college for your children? These are some of the things I want you to ask yourselves. And it is not because I want you to start thinking that, oh, you shouldn't be comfortable where you are, or you shouldn't be content with what you have. But let me ask you something. Isn't this Nevis for all of us? Isn't this Alabi Nevis, as we say locally? Isn't it? Who died and left Nevis to one set of people? Who died and left Nevis in a will to one set of people? So all of the jobs must go to them. All of the resources must go to them. The good life should go to them. Only their children should be educated. That cannot happen anymore. And I am asking, yes, the people of Nevis, but I know I have a set of competent ladies who will speak on behalf of their constituents. I am asking the people of St. Paul's to ask yourselves these tough questions, because the reality is it's do or die for us in St. Paul's. We cannot continue to live like this. And let me put a special note in here for the persons who were not born on Nevis but would have made Nevis their homes. When they come to you, whoever they are, because I'm not calling any names, whoever they are, when they come to you and they tell you NRP does not like you and NRP wants to send you back to your country, NRP wants to deport you, when they come to you with that nonsense, please understand that that is all it is, nonsense. It is a political gimmick. The Nevis Reformation Party is all inclusive. The Nevis Reformation Party is not about separating or segregating anybody. All we ask for persons to do when they come to our shows, as they do elsewhere, is to regulate your status. That is all. If you're having difficulty, let us know so that we can assist you. We do not want people to leave with the notion that the NRP is about sending them back to where they're from, knowing that they would have come to our shows in search of a better life. No, man. As a matter of fact, it was the NRP who would have made considerable adjustments to facilitate persons who were not born on Nevis but would have made Nevis their homes, lower the work permit costs, etc. And we are prepared to continue doing this because we want you to understand. We know that times are hard. We know that you may be struggling, or you may have been struggling where you're from. We understand that you come here. As long as you come here to help to boost our island, make life better for yourself and your families, we welcome you. We welcome you. There are some persons who would have supported the NRP for years, Mr. Powell. And for whatever reason, quite frankly, the reason isn't even an issue for me right now. Whatever the reason, I will not argue because it is your right. But I'm asking you to just give us a chance. Give us a chance. Come home. Listen to us. Do not be so hell-bent and say, I'm not going to come to the NRP because Carlisle did me something. But Tell me something. Carlisle did you something, but how many things has the government not done to you or for you? The reality is we need to get away from the personal attacks. We need to get away from the personalities, and we need to focus on the issues. And in reality, the issue is the NRP, the Nevis Reformation Party, is the only party in Nevis who can move Nevis forward. We've proven it before. I hear persons joke, and I don't even find it funny that the NRP would have lost because it was doing too much in government. Madness. But I am telling you, we have to think about our children's future. And I could not sit back and look at the future of my child and children unborn. And because, you know, I'm still young, I might have some more to come. I might catch up Dr. Daly. So I could not sit back and look at my child's future, the future of other children around me, and feel comfortable, feel content that they will be okay in this Nevis. I couldn't.
One final question from me as we are now at 19 minutes past the hour. Birdman commented, and I'm sure that Ivor will also want to echo the same comment. Are you prepared to be elected in Nevis and serve the people of Nevis rather than hustling across the St. Kitts to look a second job, a second salary where you won't be able to devote your time and energies to the people of Nevis first?
Mr. Powell, for me, that's rhetorical. Of course. I mean, I have already aligned myself with the party that has this. We actually went and put this as part of our constitution. And so just by the nature, just by the mere fact that I would have aligned myself with this great party speaks to that. I have absolutely no interest in working in the Nevis Island administration simultaneously in the federal government. My thing is, there is so much work to be done. And if and when the Nevis Reformation Party, headed by Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, gets into office, we have our work cut out for us, because we have to do a serious cleanup of what the government would have done, clean up the mess that the government would have done. And when we say clean up, we're talking about fixing some of the areas where they would have gone, where they would have strayed, correct the wrongs that they would have made. And so with all that work that we will have to do, correct their wrongs and still generate put some pep into our economy. Where I find time to be in St. Kitts? No. At this point in time, my focus is on Nevis. My focus is on St. Paul's. From Hamilton to Bath Road. From Ramsbury to Lower Stony Grove. Down in Low Street, Cedar Trees, Main Street, Craddock Road, Ramsbury, wherever. As long as you are in St. Paul's, I've got you covered. And as I said at the General Council, they will come to you. They will say all kind of things. All kind of things they would find to say. They're going to dig up all kind of things, half of them untrue. But the reality is, after they've done that, after they've attacked our character, ask yourself, what has changed about Nevis? When they've done that, ask yourself, have we gotten that community center in St. Paul's? Have we seen an improvement in the health centers? Have we seen an improvement in our sporting facilities? Are we being properly represented, effectively and efficiently represented in Parliament? Ask yourself these questions. So it doesn't matter what they come with. It cannot trump. That is just a disguise for their failures. It cannot trump that this government is underperforming. And I'm being generous. Dr. Daly may say it differently. It cannot trump that this government is underperforming. And the time has come for when they come to you to tell you all manner of evil about your candidates and dig up all kind of things and make up all kind of things and put people to attack them personally and professionally. You don't worry them. And they're going to ask you, where JD going? As I said at the General Council, when they come and they ask you, where JD going? Tell them straight to Parliament. Because that is my intent, Mr. Powell.
JD, we want to thank you very much for not just an hour as you promised, but an hour and nearly 25 minutes of exciting, intelligent discussion. We've been doing this thing for 15 years. And
Wow.
trust me when I tell you that you rate at the top, close to the top of the list of persons we have had in for their first experience. I don't know if Tulu or Dr. Daly would have anything to add, and then we'll give you the chance to have your closing statement.
Sure.
But it has been good, and I noticed that you are just about 1/4 of the way through the information that you have. So you're going to have to come back after the launch sometime.
No problem. Not a problem at all. I look forward to that.
Tulu?
Well, all I'm going to say is to JD is to thank you for putting your hands into the ring, for understanding that the Nevis Reformation Party represents the only party that has done anything good for Nevis and will do anything good for Nevis, and for being a part of this great party.
Dr. Daly?
Well, having JD here this evening confirms what we always knew, that the cream always rises to the top. And this is a queen cream. And so, when you think to yourself, the process that we executed to have that cream rise to the top, and you can hear the cream for yourself. Persons who are perhaps sitting on the sideline wondering, well, who is JD and what he stands for, where she coming from, where she been, where she going. You've heard it for yourself this evening, and there's much more to come. When you come to the launch or you listen via the internet on Saturday, you'll hear an echo of much of what you've heard tonight in terms of how she sees St. Paul's and how she intends to move St. Paul's forward and the country in general. But I am satisfied that we made the right choice at this right time, as she likes to say, in our history. And it is fortunate for us in NRP that we were able to land her in St. Paul's. And because perhaps St. John's probably was eyeing her at some point too. But we are glad that we made the right choice of your JD, and I'm very proud of you. You represented yourself well. But this forum is nothing new for you, but the politics certainly, your vision and your views are well appreciated. And the comments I'm reading here on the Facebook in particular, 99.99% are very positive, and people are very impressed.
Well, before your final comments, JD, the only thing I will say, I'm having a hard time here reading the comments and trying to decide whether or not Renee or your Aunt Dillis will lay an egg first. Your final comments.
Thank you so much. And gentlemen, I thank you so much for having me here on Tell Me this evening. It's definitely been a pleasure. I'm mad now that I stayed away this long, but trust me, I'll be back, and Dr. Daly would have already extended that invitation, so I'll definitely be taking you up on that. For those of you who would have tuned in late at the start of the show, I would have mentioned that, there are some persons who are mourning, and I want us to not just tell people, my condolences, but try to be there for them. Sometimes, people take losses differently. Some persons want to be left alone. Some persons want to hear you say, some persons want to hear you ask, how are you doing? So whatever it is, just try to empathize with persons who are mourning at this point in time. They may not be their normal selves, but just understand that they're going through a difficult time. And so we want to say condolences to everyone who is mourning. I would have mentioned the Smith and Stevens family up in Craddock Road. So my condolences to you guys again. And those of you who didn't know, they would have lost their matriarch. And so please reach out to them. I also want to, like Mr. Powell did earlier, let Dr. Bartlett, our very own Dr. Patricia Bartlett, and her entire family, some of them I would have played netball with or closely connected to, know that our thoughts and prayers are with you. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone who's mourning at this point in time, because guess what, whether you're a CCM, NRP or non-RB, The reality is we are all Nivisions. And so if you hurt, we hurt. And so we just want to stand with you. I want to encourage everybody who is able to come to the launch this coming Saturday. It's going to be exciting. It starts at 6 p.m. at the Villa Grounds. That's the CSS Grounds opposite Reliable Motors in Charlestown. You can drive in and look at the launch from the comfort of your vehicle. You can walk in and look at the launch from right there on the field. We'll have a few chairs for persons who aren't able to stand or who don't want to stand. We'll have entertainment. We'll have food and drinks. We ask you though to give us a donation, whatever it is. Don't think that your $2 is too small. Don't think that your $100, like Dr. Daly will bring, is too big. You know, we want you to just come out. And I thank everyone for the kind comments that they've been making.
You missed the comment by Rasai Roy.
Oh, yes, I missed it. I know that gentleman. What did he say? I know him. I'm somewhat familiar with him. He likes my daughter a little bit more than me, but I'm familiar with him. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Daddy. Is oh, my goodness. I couldn't ask for better support from family members. I don't know out of him and my mother who gives the greater support, but I'm so grateful to them and my aunts and my uncles, and oh my goodness, it's crazy. My extended family. It seemed like Dr. Daly got a problem with the Lewises, because I heard him on a previous show talk about this Lewis family is very big. Well, I'm a Lewis too, just so you know.
I did not know
I am a Lewis too.
I did not know that.
Yes, I am very much a Lewis. I am very much a Lewis. My grandmother's mother was a Lewis.
Okay.
Auntie Pat, oh, my loving Auntie Pat, oh, thank you so much for tuning in. She used to be your co-host, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning in. So yes, come out to the launch. Listen, for me, it doesn't matter your political affiliation. You do not need to tell me you're a CCM. You do not need to tell me that, you used to be a NRP. You do not need to tell me that you've never voted before. Come to the launch. And do not allow anybody to make you feel that you have to go down a road that you've always gone. Guys, this is our Nevis. This is our future. Make your decision for yourself. Give everyone a fair chance. I am on the radio this evening. Listen to me. When somebody else is on the radio from the opposite side, listen to them if you are able to. And be able to assess what is being said and make your own decision. And I am pretty certain that if you were to focus on facts, if you were to focus on plans, if you were to focus on competence, that at the end of the day, your choice will be the best choice, and that best choice is none other than the Nevis Reformation Party. NRP, this is our time.
And you're asking them to shift the momentum.
Shift the momentum.
Like thank you very much,
Yes.
JD. We'll take a break. It's now 9:31 in the evening. We have a couple of other issues that we'll discuss. We'll be back right after this.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
This is Carlisle Powell, a member of the 2020 Vision family, where we all volunteer our services. We can't do this without you. So please use our Facebook or GoFundMe links and donate now. Your donation will also help us in our quest to be on the FM dial. Please make a donation now.
Welcome back to Tell Me, where we have less than half an hour to go. Gentlemen, that was a fantastic interview. The comments, especially on Facebook, are tremendous. And so we thank you for joining in this evening as usual. But we also want you to tell people who didn't get it live that they can go on the Facebook page and they can play it at their own convenience. A lot of things are happening around the Caribbean and around the world. Very briefly, all persons in the red zone in St. Vincent have been forced to evacuate. We know that the volcano has been acting up recently, and so we're keeping our eyes on that because our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent, we want to make sure that they are safe and help in any way we can. And remember, St. Vincent is one of the places that Timothy Harris went to protest and to work his way into government. So we have an interest down there as well. As well in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and in Grenada, they are taking some steps where it seems to me as if they are going along the path to forcibly vaccinating people. They are making it mandatory. And so we have a clip of Timothy Harris, our own Prime Minister, who seems to be speaking about vaccination every single chance he gets. And he says that he has asked his legal people to look and to see if we can go that route as well. I wonder if we have the clip lined up. Yes, we do. So let's listen and look at this, and then we'll have some comments.
We need every employer, not just to say, but to insist that every employee must be vaccinated. This is where it's going to come. For the protection of your business, for the protection of the peace and the health of those who are vaccinated, employers, including the government, will have to give consideration to that. We have seen it already started in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Last night in Leadership Matters, I made it clear that my government had sought the advice of constitutional experts in relation to this particular matter. And there's, of course, a balance. But ultimately, we are confident that our Health Act, Public Health Act, does provide for the compulsory vaccination of persons, but certain SRO become necessary. And so we are getting further legal advice as to how we will move and how quickly. Do we wish to get there? If it is in the national interest, if it is that people are being too tardy, if it is that people are not conscious that by remaining unvaccinated for long, they are jeopardizing the health of other people in the workplace, they are jeopardizing the recovery of the country, then we certainly will have to look there. I was asked when we will do it and whether we are considering. My government has always said, and I have always said, that when it comes to matters that are critical to the survival of the state, the government must not take any option off the table. And whether it was in the battle against criminal activity, where I said we must use every resource to wipe it out of the country, or now we are faced with a global pandemic, we have to ensure that people do the right thing. And if we need legislation to ensure that people act responsibly, we will be prepared to bring the legislation, because the health and safety of our country must never be compromised. Never be compromised. None can gainsay that what we have here is an existential threat to our well-being, our way of life, the way we do things. It has been so for over a year now. And it is time for us to awaken to the reality that life has to go back to some sense of normalcy. The mask wearing and all those other things that we can't do, which we have loved so much, and which we have to find better ways of doing until we get ourselves vaccinated, we can't change course. Should we let a determined couple of people determine the future of all of us? I say no. And so I want to end on a note of encouragement. Please get yourself vaccinated, and the time to do it is now. Do it if not for you, for the loved ones at home. Do it if not for you, for your grandmother, your mother, your father, your children who themselves can't be vaccinated. You, by getting vaccinated, can do it for them. You who are working in the front line must do it for your co-workers too. It is not just about you. That is what COVID-19 reminded us since last year. It was not just about us, why we must wear the mask. It was also about the other passenger in the public transportation with us. It was also about the next customer in the bank line. And that we must do unto others as we wish they will do unto us. No one must ever be allowed to, in a very reckless way, allow others to be infected with diseases, especially when appropriate behavior makes it avoidable. So again, if we want to get the economy back to work, go and get vaccinated. If you want to get a job, or at least to be considered as a time when jobs are scarce, I will find it highly irresponsible for us to be...
Gentlemen, I heard all of that. I listened to all of that from Timothy Harris, who seems now to be slowly upgrading himself to being a dictator. And here is my comment. When the World Health Organization mandates the vaccine, I'd be prepared to listen. It has not been mandated by World Health Organization. As a matter of fact, what we have here, they're still giving us vaccines which are still experimental. Nobody can answer fundamental questions about the vaccine. But Timothy Harris is coming out and saying, pointing in a direction which is suggesting that they are willing to change the laws to make it mandatory for everybody to take the vaccine. Here are my questions. If there is no coronavirus in the country, why are you vaccinating me against? I'm not traveling, I'm not going any place, I'm here. So you're now telling me there is no coronavirus in the country. The vaccine cannot prevent transmission from vaccinated people to unvaccinated people, or from unvaccinated people to vaccinated people. So in effect, you're giving me something which I might have to take a booster shot in 4 or 5 months. And the news this afternoon is that 246 persons who were fully vaccinated caught coronavirus anyway. So what is there to convince me that I must take the coronavirus? Well, one thing I will tell Timothy Harris and anybody else, I like the Cuban vaccine because it seems they have put out all kind of information about the Cuban vaccine. I have more faith in that than in AstraZeneca, which we are having here, and all the unanswered questions with AstraZeneca. But in the meantime, when the government makes it mandatory for people to take the vaccination against a disease that we don't have in the country anyhow, I am going to be one of those persons. I got a piece of land over Zion. I'm going to mortgage that to pay me legal bill, because I am not at the front of the line, nor am I interested in being anywhere close to the front of the line. Dr. Fauci has said that, listen, the recovery rate is 99%. So I'm willing to take my chances at this present moment. And the same way that they're coming out and arguing and forcing people to go in the line to take the vaccine, is the same way that I have some rights and I have the right to express my own opinion. And my own opinion right now is that I ain't going no place to the front of the line to take this vaccine with so many unanswered questions. And with that, me done.
More power to you. Thank you for joining me in staying at the back of the line. The thing is, I listened to the Prime Minister and I see totalitarianism coming into the country, whereby the Prime Minister is indicating that this is what me as a leader or my government wants, and this is what you'll have to do. And so if we have to change the laws to make it to comply with what we want you to do, regardless of your feeling, regardless of your religious persuasion, regardless of your conviction, this is what's going to happen come hell or high water. I totally disagree with him. And I'm saying to people, I as an individual has not made up my mind to take this vaccine. I do not know if or when I'm going to make up my mind to take this vaccine. And nobody is going to force me to take this vaccine. The Prime Minister is saying, we are going to force you to take it. If you don't take it, you don't have a job. If you do not take it, you're going to be isolated and marginalized by us. As soon he might be saying, listen, if you don't take it and you get sick, don't come to our hospital because we'll make sure we're going to leave you there to die. The other thing I want to say in regards to this COVID, I've been thinking about it long and hard. And to me, there are persons in this country who are worse than COVID. Because here, the Prime Minister is saying that if you take this vaccine, it can help you not to contract COVID, or it will reduce your level of being affected by COVID. I want to suggest to the world that the Premier of Nevis is worse than COVID. Because when you can do something to mitigate against COVID, you can't do nothing to mitigate against his bad mind, his lie, his deception, his deceitfulness, his wickedness, his nastiness, the fact that this man has absolutely no shame, and he will stop at nothing to destroy the reputation, the character, and even the lives of good citizens in this country. And so, according to the Prime Minister, I can do something to stop myself from getting this disease that will threaten my life. There's nothing that anybody could do to stop Mark Brantley lying tongue. And the worst thing could happen is when you have a person with a bad mind and a lying tongue. He was on COVID.
But the vaccination don't stop you. They can't tell you if it will stop you from getting COVID-19.
That's true.
I mean, when they give me a shot for polio, for example, when I'm traveling to some of those places in the world where they mandate certain vaccines for yellow fever and so on, you know that once you get the shot that you're protected. Mm-hmm. When you get this vaccine for COVID-19, they can't tell you whether or not it will stop you from getting it or transmitting it.
They said that all I'm hearing saying to us is that it will reduce the level of sickness that you will get. It will reduce death. But they tell you it will not prevent you from contracting the disease somewhere along the line.
And the chances of recovering are 99%. So let me take my chance. Anyway, gentlemen, some news came out that the Council of Europe has ruled in a resolution 2361 of 2021, among other things, that no one can be vaccinated against their will under pressure.
I hope the Prime Minister
and the 47 member states are invited to report before vaccination that vaccination is not compulsory and that unvaccinated people should not be discriminated against. Well, in St. Kitts and Nevis, Timothy Harris is saying to hell with that. Mm-hmm. We are going to mandate that you take the vaccine. Timothy Harris, I wonder if you will mandate that people go to church. I wonder if you're going to make it mandatory that people go to the dentist. What else are you going to make it mandatory for? Because we do not have COVID-19 in the country. If you want to rush full speed to open back the country, let all the tourists come in, that is your business. What you are going to have to do is to have a plan in place that if you want them in your country, say that if you're coming on cruises or whatever, let them be fully vaccinated. But right now, there is no COVID-19 in St. Kitts and Nevis. There is no community spread. You cannot tell me that the vaccination is going to prevent me from getting COVID-19. And WHO has not made it mandatory. So you will and come again. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Carla. Good evening.
How you do?
And Tulu. I'm here listening to the show. By the way, I must commend the young lady, JD, who was on earlier. I can feel her passion and her energy. I wish her well, and I hope that the people of Nevis will also listen to her and give her a chance. I don't know, well, let me say this. I have not interacted with JD. I know who she is, but I've never engaged her. But she appears to be a very engaging candidate, one who is articulate and one who is passionate about Nevis, and I believe loves her community and loves Nevis. Now, on the issue of the vaccination, I smiled when I heard the clip on Timothy, and I sometimes think what brings to mind, people like Kim Jong-un of North Korea. And other places, not even in Russia, is Putin, who is considered a dictator, making people get vaccinated. So I think the Prime Minister is entering or heading down a slippery slope here. Timothy Harris, you cannot mandate. It's unconstitutional. And I know we need to protect each other. But you do not have the authority to mandate or to make a law that someone has to. Each person has a right to decide to take the vaccine or not to vaccine. When the government goes as far as to mandate or put this in legislation, you are basically saying that you have a right to dictate to a person to determine for a person what they should put in their bodies or what they should not put in their bodies. And here's the other things. If you can mandate such, then what's going to be the next thing that you'll mandate that you say that the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis have to do or have to comply with? There are a number of cases out there. Timothy will do well, and his legal advisors will do well if they look at those cases, because he will be in breach of human rights in a big way. And I think he and his government are heading down a slippery slope. And I do not think he's going to get the support of global governments here. Other countries are not doing that. Even here in the United States, even though President Biden is encouraging everyone to take the vaccine, he cannot. The Congress cannot mandate that every citizen has to take it, or otherwise you would lose your job. That's a violation of a person's right. So Timothy Harris, my simple advice to you is to consider the case laws that are out there, you and your legal advisors, and be careful. Be careful for the direction you're heading into, because this could end up being much more serious than you're contemplating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. And gentlemen, we know that coming out of especially the Second World War, with all the experiments carried out by the Nazis and so on, that the Geneva Convention had things to say about what I would term these experimental drugs. So, Timothy Harris, you can huff and puff all you want. You can put it into whatever law you want. Some government is going to pay some people who decide to oppose you and take this matter to court. You can have the education. Tell people why they should be vaccinated. But how the hell you going to tell people that it is mandatory? You must, otherwise you can't work, you can't eat, you can't live in the country.
But you see, the thing about this, it all started badly. It all started wrong. The politicizing of the COVID is what has got us to this point. The refusal of the government to harness the power of all political parties and all, associated, whether politically or not, agencies, all hands on deck approach. The whole thing was politicized to give benefit to the certain government and to make the opposition look incompetent and, unimportant. They are now realizing the mistake they've made, and they're trying now to re-engage with the opposition. They had a conference recently on Nevis, inviting members of the NRP along, and with other political parties. But the horse had already bolted from the stable. And so when the Prime Minister also made a pronouncement a week ago or so, that he expects a GDP growth of 5%. And now he realizes, the country realizes, the task force realizes that the refusal rate is increasing, not decreasing. And so when the Prime Minister speaks to a few persons out there who are being abstinent and not taking the vaccine, it's not a few, it's a majority of people who are concerned about the whole misinformation, missed opportunities to shed light on the matter. You're now coming at the last hour rain and talk about mandatory. You're putting fuel on the fire. People are seeing on the internet, on the World Wide Web, all of the issues regarding transmission, regarding the rate of cure without the vaccine. People are seeing all that information for themselves. And I want to ask one question. How do you enforce such a law? So I'm retired. I don't depend on the government for a job. What are they going to say? If I don't get my vaccination card to them, they're going to stop my pension?
Mm-hmm. Pass law, yeah.
So who's going to be responsible for my well-being after that point, when I have no money to buy food? So I'm going to be starved to death because I choose one way or the next? How are you going to enforce something like that? You're going to have, in the China days, you had a red book. You show your passbook if you want to get a job, if you want to get a promotion. How do you enforce something like this? It is nonsensical to begin with. People are going to resist further. Now, I know the horse has bolted, but it's time for a reset. To get out there in the political in the political arena. Heinz Daniel on Target on Saturday had a brilliant idea. And it was so simple, it's elegant. He said, listen, nobody knows the constituency groups, the constituency better than a politician who's in the constituency. For example, J.D. Keynes is now in St. Paul's. She will get to know St. Paul's. Roberta Hector, he knows every nook and cranny in St. Paul's. Spencer Brand, he should know every nook and cranny in St. Paul's. Rather than only going out to campaign during the silly season, why not make that program of meeting constituency in their homes as if you're going campaigning and say, listen, we are here to bring the message of the vaccine. I'm here with the health expert. Any questions, any doubts you may have, this person can answer. But I'm here to encourage you because it's in all our best interests. The risk are not outweighed by the benefits. Have a conversation along those lines. Meet people where they are and share the fact that, yes, we need the borders open because we are hemorrhaging. But to sit on a pedestal and say, we are going to do the easy thing, which they believe is the easy thing, and mandate this it's going to backfire. Less and less people are going to be drawn away from the process because you're forcing big people to do something against their will. It's not going to go well. It will not go well. And I would have thought they would have exhausted all social applications. They will have implemented whatever reforms they need to implement. Broaden the scope of inclusion in spreading the message. To me, that will have borne more fruit than this draconian thing about if you want to eat, if you want to work, if you want to travel, if you want to buy a car, if you want to get married, if you want to have a child, all this kind of nonsense, you must be vaccinated. But who did they left them God?
Here is the question that I have. The COVID task force top people, Dr. Hazel Laws, Dr. Wilkinson, I read some comments from them where they said that they were pleased with the level of vaccination so far. I mean, it could be better, but they're pleased. But if you're pleased, why the hell you want to make it mandatory? If you are making it mandatory, it suggests that the response of the public has been below the expected numbers so far. And so you want to make it mandatory. All the time we have been asking, what is the post-COVID plan? When do we plan to reopen the economy and all of that? When you plan to reopen the borders? Nobody's saying anything.
Let me ask a question, Carlisle. What is the event, what is the plan if you don't get to 70%?
That's a good question.
I haven't heard anything.
That's a good question.
I've heard Cameron Wilkinson, I believe, indicate that they fully expect the borders to be open in October.
Mm-hmm.
They fully expect to be reaching 70% plus herd immunity by October. What if it doesn't happen?
But they have now started to put in a little caveat. They said, we understand that there are some adult persons who are saying that they are prepared to be part of the 30%, but the children under 18 already make up 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So we want every single adult to go and take the vaccine.
Can't happen.
It will not happen.
And you see, the thing is this. Even the calculation that we use to get to the 32,069, the so-called 70% figure, that calculation is misleading for the simple reason the vaccine is not 100% effective.
Correct.
So whatever calculation you've used did not include that portion of the population that will not show a response to the vaccine.
Had the same argument with somebody this week.
And so
I said if the vaccine, for example, after the second dose is 90%, you still have to cater for that 10%.
But it's more than 10%.
And that 10%, whatever the percentage is, will have to be added to the 30.
Of course. So you'll never get
exactly.
You'll never get to herd immunity of 70% on the present calculation. It will not happen. You're getting too much resistance, especially among the young people in the population, especially among the educated class, especially among persons who are resistant in all instances to vaccines of any type. But you also have a situation where persons are very nervous by the speed at which the vaccine reached to the market. The reason why experts cannot answer a lot of the questions regarding transmission and the rate of transmission and all that, because they simply do not know. The vaccine has not been around long enough to capture the data to answer those questions. So what we are using are best guess estimates, best practices to try to fill that information gap that is worrying so many people. And with that worry, it is unconscionable for the Prime Minister of the Federation, supported by our Premier Nevis, to say that no, we are going to force this thing down people's throats. And if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen to you. I mean, really? Is that the best we can do? I mean, I've heard a carrot and stick, but this is all stick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the carrots on this.
And more than that, gentlemen, if the Prime Minister is insisting that they need more people to take the vaccine, and a large percentage of people have issues with AstraZeneca, why not give an alternative? I mean, he said that we had $800,000 which was budgeted towards this thing. So use that $800,000 and buy some Moderna, buy some Pfizer, pay for the Cuban vaccine, something else. Give people an option, not force people to take this AstraZeneca that people have concerns about. Let's take our last phone call. It's already after 10 o'clock in the evening, but we'll take this call before we wrap up. Good evening, caller.
Good night, gentlemen. How are you guys doing?
Well, I keep getting better and better.
Praise the Lord. I have a serious issue with the vaccine, and my issue is the Prime Minister wants to make the vaccine mandatory. Why is he not making it mandatory for the persons to get their severance?
Caller, you're making a good point.
No. He's seeking legal advice to see as to where to go. Why he don't make it seek legal advisors to give the people their money? It is serious. How
Big
you going
point.
to take medicine and hungry belly?
Big point.
Mr. Powell, how are you going to take medicine and hungry belly?
No, I'm with you 100%.
It is very, very serious. I live in the US and nobody could make me take the vaccine because I have a right. I have a right. And if Nevis people and sick people don't wake up, you have a right. We ain't back there when we was in the 1800 when we don't have no rights as black people. But we now have rights. We know we rights. And it's time for us to put down with foot. Gentlemen, you have a good night.
You have a lovely night. Gentlemen, I don't know if there is any better way we could have ended the show this evening. Make it Timothy Harris, while you're making it mandatory for people to take the vaccine, make it mandatory for all who ain't get the severance pay to get the severance pay. And just follow the law from here on. After the 12-week period, everybody get the severance pay. It doesn't matter. Once you qualify, you get the money. Done with that. And don't tell me that no money in the fund. Because the CBI alone, in the last couple of years, you got $1 billion in the fund. What the hell you putting up the money for? I was vexed when Dr. Douglas was putting up the CBI money and the SIDF money. And we had so many issues in the country that needed addressing. You're going to borrow $150 million to build a new pier. When you got $1 billion somewhere saltway in a fund and you're just watching it and saying, oh, we got a lot of money. It's foolishness. Tulu, it's 5 minutes after 10. Your closing statements, and we go to Dr. Daly and we leave until next week.
When I heard the Prime Minister said that he going to be mandating this in the national interest, my mind went back to what Van Samry did to persons like Christian Springett and Hasten Daniel when he sent them home, and he said he sent them home what?
In the public interest.
In the public interest. The very same thing come back fresh to my mind. And so I'm going to say to every citizen in St. Kitts and Nevis, if you do not want to take the vaccine, Harris cannot force you to take it. If you're going to take the vaccine, go ahead and take your vaccine. But do not do it under any duress from Mr. Harris. You have a right to choose. Let him go ahead and make the laws what he wants to make. Those same laws are going to come back and hang him. Thank you.
Dr. Daly?
Let me say, before I add my last few words, a very special happy birthday to my colleague teacher in the past, Brian Carey. He celebrates his birthday today, as well as my good friend Greg Hartman down at Happy Endings. I'll be passing there after I leave here to have a drink to celebrate.
Greg having bought down, he didn't offer me. I didn't ask me to come down for a brazen.
Well, we'll go down there together. Me and Tulu. Tulu have a brandy, and we're gonna have something else. But we are gonna head down to Happy Endings to have a toast with both gentlemen when we leave here. And let me just end by saying, it is unfortunate the position we find ourselves in a country like this. And you see, I say unfortunate because it could have been avoided. This whole mess could have been avoided. Even if we had not practiced this scorched earth, this zero-sum game where it is the government feels it is their obligation to destroy the opposition. If this was handled differently, and as JD indicated, we cannot continue with this self-prosecution, this internal prosecution of our own selves, because this then becomes the result. The country becomes fractured. Nobody trusts anybody. You understand? And so we really need a change in this country in more ways than one. The government has shown the world that they're incompetent. The government has shown the world that they have no clue how we get out of this matter. They have no plan, no rescue plan, no social plan, no kind of plan to help this country recover or even to sustain us where we are, even though we are sinking. And so it is clear that the thinking of this government, the thinking of Brantley and his colleagues, has put us down a rabbit hole at which we are struggling to see light because it's so far down it. And I'm saying to the people of Nevis, you heard the presentation by J.D. Keynes. You've heard us here on many times saying that the position of this government in Nevis and on St. Kitts is untenable. You cannot isolate 50% of the population from a national pandemic and expect solutions. What we are seeing now is a result of poor governance, poor legislating, poor policies. And if we do not change, we're going to get even worse. Good night. God bless.
Well, here is how I'm going to leave you. Argentina has said that they will buy the Soberana 2 vaccine. And the WHO gave a category of excellence to the Cuban vaccine against the sovereign coronavirus, which serves even for pediatric use, something that no current vaccine had achieved. Sovereign 2 was developed in Cuba. It is the first Latin American vaccine against the coronavirus. After phase 3 test, it will be ready in May, and May is only next month. The Cuban Sovereign 2 hit the ground running on the continent. It is on the select list of vaccines of the World Health Organization. It is the first developed in Latin America that passed phase 2 of clinical trials and has a distinctive advantage. It can be applied in pediatric population. Remember the other vaccines they're telling you not for children under 18? Well, this one can be used for pediatric. The vaccine entered the successive stages of testing on October 19th of last year, and at the beginning of March, the pharmaceutical company BioCuba Pharma confirmed that the Regulatory Authority of Medicines, Equipment and Medical Devices of Cuba gave the green light to the final stage of investigation. There is more, but I'll pause there. And I'll tell you that when the Sovereign 2 becomes available in St. Kitts Nevis, I will take that. I can trust the Cuban vaccine more than I can trust the AstraZeneca. I have great doubts. And Timothy Harris, just because you took the AstraZeneca does not mean that everybody in the country must take it. Not interested in that at this point. Too many unanswered questions. We'll be back with you next week. Until then, be good.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic